Hi my friends, I have just received an order and in it has some of the new packaging with the stamps and dies. Demonstrators can order this now. These will begin in November, but I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at it, check the good and the bad. I'm going to be honest, but I thought you might be interested to see that. Firstly, it's pretty sleek, it's thin, it is a large size. You've got the stamps and the dies the same size. So what I did notice is there was no plastic packaging on the dies. So that's good. I think that's a win for the environment. But I did reuse those packaging, so that was okay. But I have a lot to use, so I'm not going to miss it. But I think that's good. We've got it has the little pockets with the tag that stores them in. Now the dies, the packaging, let me tell you, it's 14.5 centimeters by 23 centimeters, or 5 5/8 of an inch by 9 inches. So stamps and dies come in the same packaging. Let's have a look at them compared to some of our current packaging. So if you have a look at the larger embossing folders, this is the sunflower embossing folder. So we have, it's slightly, I hope you can see it okay, slightly smaller, but the embossing folders are a little bit wider. So these are quite large, these new ones. With the dies, let me put the wrong one away. The dies, this is the current packaging for the dies. You can see it much smaller, and the current ones are much smaller, and it's a lot wider, this new one as well. That's going to make it tricky for storage, but I'll talk about that in a moment. The wider dies, some packets have the wider dies, so the current ones are a lot wider, but not as high. In terms of stamp sets, the stamps are not quite as high as what the new packaging will be, and not as wide. So although it is thin, it is a lot larger. Some people store their stamps already on a shelf. I know for myself, I like having it on a shelf and I can just check the spine out of what it is. So this is going to mean that it's difficult to do that. You might, we'll talk about where we can store them in a moment, but you're not going to see it as easily, as visibly. I think I will have to change the way I'm storing them, which is a shame, but it does take up less room. When you look at 3 stamp sets, that's 2 of them. So 2 of them are probably not even 1 stamp set, which is a good space saving. I think I will change it to a basket type storage. So this, if you can see it, this is my basket that I currently have all my dies in. So it's just a plastic basket. You might have a different type of basket. You might have a box. It might go in a drawer. What a big problem I see is because they're going to be all stacked, it's going to take a lot of time to flick through them. What I've done with my dies is actually made labels. I have some retired ones, some general ones, shapes. I'm going to reorganize this and redo them. I've had this type for a long time. Nature, butterflies, birds. So I think I'm going to store mine in categories, so they're going to be easier to see. So I can just go to the category, it might be a shape or it might be a nature type one, the birds and the butterflies, and have them all stacked in. When you sit them in your basket, they will stay up, so hopefully your shelf is that little bit larger. Hopefully you can see what I'm meaning, but I think that is probably the way I'm going to change it, and just have a few tags to flip through them to make that a lot easier. So I'll move this out of the way. let's get to the actual stamp and die packaging and have a look at them. For the stamp set, we'll take that first. It has the images on the front, which is great, and I think all of them will be at actual size. So have a look here. So now what? You've got the stamp set. It takes just over a half. So you do have, I have to say, a lot of wasted space. You don't often get a stamp set that has that much bigger size. Maybe a little bit, but also what I'm seeing is there's no stamp image inside. You've got it on the front, great, but inside, and I don't know about you, but when I pull them off, I like to stick them back on the sheet in the same place so you know where everything belongs, but also you can see if something's missing. As you use them after a while, they start losing their stick, and you can just lose them anywhere. You don't know what's missing. So I have seen a couple of workarounds this. So some people have stamped it on the acetate, peel that off, ink the whole sheet up, and stamp it on the lighter, the thinner piece of acetate. If you do it that way, you will need to use StazOn ink on the stamps so it can stamp, because it's a slippery surface. The memento is not going to last very long. Originally, when the photopolymer stamp sets came out, it was said not to use StazOn. I have to say, I used it. It does stain them, but I don't notice any damage to it. So if you want to just ink it up, pat over your StazOn ink pad, stick it onto your piece of acetate. That's a way to have the image on there. Or you could just stamp it on a piece of card or on the inside of the packaging or paper. You can just use memento ink. This surface is a little shiny. Maybe you'll have to go StazOn for this. But then at least you've got the image, and that's something I really think we need. So I would strongly encourage you, if that's an issue, contact Stampin' Up. Mention to them you would love to see the images on the acetate as well, or inside the packaging. The more people who email them, message them, more people they will see that it is a problem. So I think that is something that could be changed perhaps, but there is workarounds. Now for the dies have the images actual size. This is actually the friendly foliage one. You might not recognize it's going to start in November. I quite liked, I'll show you the dies. I quite liked how you've got this outline. It does seem a lot smaller, doesn't it? But these are actual size. You've got a number of leaves, and it doesn't have the images on there, but the original didn't have it either, the current ones. You can always just trace around in pencil so you know that they stick back on there. I put a magnet sheet inside my dies sheet so that the dies can go back on and stores it neatly and safely. But that's up to you. You can store the stamps and the dies together. That could probably even, I wonder if they'll fit in one envelope. Just remember though that 2 are in there. If you suddenly realise, where have I stored that? That could be a problem. You could always turn it around maybe, that's an idea. Back to back, and then you can see that would save a lot. I do like storing mine separately though, because sometimes I use the dies, if it's got a particular shape, I'll use the dies without this actual stamp set or vice versa. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, getting back to the storage, you can purchase the extra envelopes. These will be available, these plastic envelopes, from November. You can get 10 for $28. That's Australian prices. Check your market, but you'll be able to purchase these from November. Look online as well, or you might have an alternative to put them in. You can also, if you still prefer the DVDs, you can purchase the DVD cases. So you get 4 for $15.75 in Australia. Once again, check your market so you can change all these over. I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know. How do you think you're going to store these? Let's help each other brainstorm some ideas. Share ideas what works for you as these new products come about. I'd love to hear what you think you're going to do. But I thought I'd just stop by today, share my thoughts, share what it looks like. Hey, and you even get a sneak of what's something new coming. But I'm going to be back soon with some creative projects. So I hope you'll check back soon. Have a great day. Bye.